Welcome to the video. This is going to be a PalWorld beginners tips and tricks. This is going to be for the early game focus and maybe players who just started or don't have the game yet. The first thing I'm going to talk about is going to be this little item pickup right here. So this is going to be all around the map, but these are called Lif Monk effigies, and the more you get them, the better and easier time you'll have capturing pals out in the world. One thing to note is that these are all per player, and so is the capture rate. So even if you're with friends playing in a guild, you all need to get your own Lif Monk effigies in order to rank up your own individual capture power. You just pick it up, boom, one Lif Monk effigy, just like that. So once you have those effigies in your base, you want to go ahead and have a statue that looks just like this. It's a pretty early technology, and what you can do here is enhance player stats. And right here, you can offer the Lif Monk effigies to enhance your capture power, and the amount that you have to offer up every time kind of increases as you increase this capture power. But this is really important to help you capture all the pals out there. Another tip for getting those effigies is that they shine really bright at night. As you can see, there's an effigy there, there's one there, there's one there, there's one there, there's one there. So if you're really trying to find out where they all are on the map, you can kind of just look around at night and head to them and get them. The next tip or trick is that teleporting, you can only fast travel if you're at a fast travel point or if you're at your base and you access fast travel from your PAL box. So you can teleport to bases and between fast travel points and bases, but like right now, I can't travel to anything here until I get to the closest fast travel point. The next tip is going to be on how you can get a lot of XP early game to level up faster. Generally speaking, everything you do in the game will kind of give you some levels, but the thing that gives you the most levels is going to be capturing pals, and what gives you even more levels with capturing pals is if you capture pals you already have. So like this sheep right here, I'll go ahead and damage it and capture it with a 70% chance, and once it captures, you'll see on the bottom right of the screen that I just captured 10 out of 10, so now I get a complete XP bonus of 335, and right now 335 is a pretty good amount of XP, so if you're a lower level, that's going to give you a big bump. And each time you repeat the capture, that little XP bonus is going to stack until eventually you get the 10 captures, and that is going to give you a big burst of XP. And it doesn't have to be repeat captures in a row, it can just be repeat captures in general. And if I catch another land ball, you'll see that after you get that big bonus, you don't have to worry about recapturing them anymore. The bonus kind of goes away, so at this point now you can just kind of kill these land balls. But capturing is always good because I feel like there's more uses for them than if they are dead. Another tip for when you're capturing things is to actually pull your Pokemon back into its sphere after when you're like about to capture. So let's say I'm fighting this Pokemon and I'm using this to assist me in capturing. You know, it would probably just end up killing the Pokemon I want to capture. So right before I'm ready to throw the sphere, I'll go ahead and just recall my Pokemon. And you can do this in combat also to like reposition your PAL strategically. Another general tip and trick is going to be PAL mods. So some PALs will have little abilities that are unlocked when you get a specific technology for them. So a popular one and an example that I'll use is this Tanzie's assault rifle for this specific PAL. And the way this works is once you unlock this technology with a technology point when you're level 12, then you use these resources to craft the item at a PAL station workbench, and once you do, that item, like once you pick it up, stays in your inventory and it becomes like a passive item. It doesn't even take up a slot, and it kind of goes right here in its own thing called key items, and this right here will just sort of work. If I was to take out a Tanzie and I had that mod, then I could just go ahead and start using the ability by holding F on it. And it's only one per person, so there's no point in picking up multiple because you can, and it kind of becomes a waste. So you should only have one per person and it'll kind of just stay passive in your inventory. Another thing about PALs is that there are variants of the PALs. Right now there's normal PALs, and then there's going to be alphas, and then there's going to be shinies. Shinies kind of have like a sparkly effect on them and they look a little bit different. The only one I've really seen though is a shiny chickpea, which is like the chicken one looking PAL. And the variance was that it was lots bigger. It was like a giant size, and it had like those yellow sparkles all around it. Yeah, I think these bosses are considered alpha pals, like this mammoth forest right here, and they're all over the map in various areas, and they are farmable. So once they die, they will respawn, and they can be like recaptured again, or rebattled again, that sort of thing. Like this Chillet, we already defeated it, but if we wanted to, we could go back and get a Chillet, a boss version of it again. So one thing for multiplayer, next tip is going to be that the regular Steam worlds, like if you just start a multiplayer world through Steam, is going to be 4 players only, and it's going to be like that for all the regular servers, unless you are doing a dedicated server, which is like a server host hosts it for you, or you host the PalWorld server on Steam, like you play it on Steam, and then you also have the game running and the server running at the same time, and then you have to port forward it, and that will give you 32 player slots, so it will allow a lot more people to play together. But otherwise, there's just going to be a standard of 4 players on at a time, but more than 4 players can join the world, like throughout, while you're playing, but only 4 can be on playing it simultaneously. Early game tip for leveling your stats is going to be pumping around 500 weight. Feels pretty good. I would do weight really early because it allows you to carry a lot of things in your inventory, like wood and stone, which can add up a lot, and it kind of just makes moving around a lot easier. The rest of the stats I would kind of do according on your playstyle. Like if you want to do a lot more combat, you want to be tankier, HP. If you're doing a lot of building and climbing and exploring, stamina is always helpful. So usually I do weight into stamina and HP. And once I get to around 140 stamina, I start pumping HP because I think 140 feels pretty good. Speaking of stamina, you have this bar right here, right next to your character, and doing a lot of different activities with your character drains stamina, like chopping wood. Alright, next tips I'm going to go over are going to be base related. Everything with building a early game base and getting kind of an early game economy going. In regards to food, having 2 plantations is really good. Is right here, this berry plantation, and you just kind of sustain it with seeds, and you'll have your pals planting for you and watering them, and then you'll have a pal also come and collect them. And once you have those red berries, you can put them in this feeder, and they'll just kind of infinitely be able to feed all your pals and yourself. And you can also put these berries inside a campfire and cook them into baked berries, which is just a completely more beneficial regular berry. And yeah, that'll sustain your early game economy for a really long time until you can get wheat. When you're deciding your base location, I recommend picking a spot with good natural spawns. So you can see at this base right here, this entire area right has no like vegetation or stone. And then when you look at these edges, all these trees here will constantly respawn as we chop them. So in the early game, when you don't have like pals farming those materials for you, it's really useful for you to just be able to come over here to your base, chop down these trees, and then have them respawn. And the same thing goes for stone or like rock veins. I don't know if we have any rock veins around here, to be honest. So like right here is a rock vein. So we actually do have a rock spawning in this spot, and then that just gives us really easy access to stone in the early game, in the early stages of gameplay. When you're crafting at your camp, it will pull from your inventory and every single storage container at that camp as well. So like if I went into this high quality workbench and I try to build something, like it shows you all of these resources that is in your camp, which is like 3,000 wood and 4,000 stone, like running in this camp, and that can be from any of these containers. So another tip is that I recommend having storage containers and plenty of them kind of just throughout your camp or your base, and kind of putting them near relevant resource spots, because it's common to have pals going around and picking up supplies and kind of delivering them to storage containers, like loose supplies and whatnot. So just to make it more efficient, it's always good to have a storage box next to like wood and like a storage box for stone, and it kind of keeps it organized too, because if you need to for some reason individually look inside these, you'll know that stone is going to be by this area right here. One thing that I was thinking about early on was making multiple bases, but we realized that per guild, there is a base limit based on the guild level. So if we go here to our PAL box and we go to the base upgrade, you can see that our base level is 11, and max number of bases is 2 at base level 11, and it takes until you have to be at least base level 10, I believe, to make 2 bases. And that is shared, that like maximum limit is shared amongst every single guild member. So it does take a bit of time before you can start building more than 1 base if you're in the same guild. When you're at your camp, your pals that are in your pocket that you can deploy can do work for you. So they can do work and they also don't drain sanity. So usually what I have is I'll have some sort of crafting pal on hand. Usually it's the cat pal. I'll show you which one. This pal is really good for early game because it kind of does a lot of things that you might need, like transporting, gathering, handiwork, and mining. So I usually have a Cativa on hand, and while I'm crafting something at camp, I'll spawn my Cativa out like that, and then I'll start working on the recipe, and then the Cativa will kind of chime in and start helping me out. Another thing is the game is still in early access, so there's gonna be some glitchiness, and one of the things I notice is sometimes pals will be like stuck on stuff or positioned weirdly, or maybe like stuck in a rock. So if that's the case, you can just easily reset them by pulling it here and then putting it back in, and that'll go ahead and unstuck them usually because it kind of spawns them back out. So if you use your entire stamina bar, then what will happen is you're gonna immediately stop taking any actions that you were doing. And you actually can't make any actions either until your stamina regenerates. So in combat, it's really crucial because you won't be able to dodge roll and maneuver as easy, and you also won't be able to attack. Alright, next tip is going to be respect the levels. So if a pal or you're trying to fight in combat has, you know, a couple levels on you or even more, that is definitely going to give you a challenge because of the way the scaling works in this game. So this level 38 guy, I'm currently level 15, and at a certain point, if something is too high level on you, you'll only deal 1 damage to it. I would demonstrate, but I'm afraid this thing's going to destroy our base. If it's like slightly above your level, I would say within 5 levels, then you might have a chance of fighting it, but it's definitely going to do a lot of damage to you. The next tip is if one of your pals gets clapped and they faint, they are gonna go back into your party, but they are gonna be at 0 HP. So the way you can fix that is by putting them into your pal storage. And when you place them in your pal storage, they'll go ahead and start healing for up to 10 minutes. You go to your pal box like this right here, and then you just place them inside, and then you'll see like a little timer start from 10 minutes on them, and that's how long it's going to take for them to revive. And that's like 10 minutes of you being in game, so if you log off, it will just resume the timer when you log back in. And of course, with the pals having different types, there is going to be a power balance of weakness and strengths for each type against type. So when you're fighting certain things, you can kind of keep that in mind. It might give you a little bit of an edge in battle. One really crucial item for defending yourself in combat is having a shield. This is really good because it kind of works like an energy shield from Halo in the sense where whatever damage happens to the shield will regenerate on your bottom left. You can see those little blue bars above the HP. What makes them even stronger is they protect you against burst damage. So like, let's say this shield only has 100, but let's say I take 1,000 damage. Something hits me with like a hyper beam and I just take 1,000 damage. It will just completely destroy my shield, but none of it will go to my HP until the next attack I get hit by. One early game way to heal your pals is to make sure that they have plenty of food, and in order to see that, you can just right click on a food item and you'll see all these orange bars on it, and that kind of dictates how hungry they are, and you kind of want to keep that up so that they're happy and they can heal over time. And it kind of goes for you too, like you kind of want to make sure you eat so that you can heal. In terms of weapons for combat, I would say that bows are really strong. So I would recommend using the old bow in the early game if you can for ranged, if you can sustain the arrows. If not, I'd use a wooden club. The spear early game is actually pretty bad until maybe you get to the later spears. So I would just use a bat and bow combo for combat. That's gonna be it for these tips and tricks. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you have any other questions, feel free to leave it in the comment section and I'll try to get to it. If you have any positive or negative feedback, go ahead and let me know as well. That way I can improve. But otherwise, until next time.